In our next Spotlight session, we're going to hear from Tracey Cross, co-chair of FSC's Empower Women, on the background and drivers of the initiative launched in March. We'll also hear from leader, CEO and proud member of Global Women's Champions for Change, Mark Cochrane, on why this initiative matters and how we can collectively contribute to a future where women are empowered to lead, innovate and thrive. Now, if you haven't already joined Empower Women, do get amongst it. Membership is already over 400 strong. Welcome, Tracey and Mark.
The last quarter, look at the graphs. If you look at the sales projections, what's in the last quarter.
What I'm saying is,
the stark reality is the most career-limiting thing that you can do if you're a woman is have a child, even today. A baby taking a woman out of the leadership pipeline and limiting her potential earnings significantly for her entire career. Empower Women launched, as Vanya said, at the end of March, following the merger of Women and Super into FSC, is focused on driving impactful change to address such issues, supporting more women into and retaining women within industry leadership positions, together with supporting their financial confidence, wellbeing and empowerment. And you will see our Empower Women objectives on a slide. With membership of our inclusive community open to all beyond the bounds of FSC, the financial services industry, our numbers are growing at a fast pace, with over 400 like-minded individuals keen to support the change that we desire, having registered to date. So given our passion and purpose, we were keen to use this session not only to introduce Empower Women to you, for those of you that didn't attend our March launch, but to explore and learn from important initiatives of other leaders with like minds outside of our industry. And I'm really pleased to have Mark here with me today. Thank you for joining us, Mark.
No worries.
So as Vanya said, Mark's with Saatchi and Saatchi, who actually put that video together for Global Women, and he is a Global Women Champion of Change. And I think, as you'll agree, that's quite an impactful video in respect of removing the motherhood penalty. So welcome, Mark. So just a bit of a chat, Mark. I mean, you were very engaged sort of on these topics, but can you tell us a bit about your role as a Global Woman Champion of Change and why you got involved?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. Champions for Change is part of the Global Women organisation, and I guess it's a community of leaders across New Zealand, and as a community, it's been going for quite some time now, but as a community it comes together and it predominantly learns from each other and works on key initiatives that we can deploy in our organisation, so we can reach it probably predominantly more in the corporate side of New Zealand, and then push out further to take some of those key initiatives and storytell them to greater New Zealand as well. So that's one of the initiatives that we thought was really important, is addressing the penalty gap. So sometimes we look a little wider and set up initiatives and such as that. It's an interesting film, isn't it? Because I'm probably going off topic already. But just when you look at that, it's a serious matter. And how do you tell stories about serious matter? Just getting the tone right is really important. So it's we took a light-hearted view on something that's really serious to people, and that was just a good way to communicate it as well. So we're really proud of that. But yeah, Champions of Change is it's a great organisation, and I think that it's for all of us to be able to deploy inclusivity and diversity within our organisations. I think the area, just to add to that and where we're trying to push towards, is move the topic down into, or up, into small and medium-sized businesses of New Zealand, because the corporates, whilst there's many great policies and initiatives in place, and we all know that certainly there's a lot of work to be done, it's also how do we get it to the smaller business of New Zealand as well, where some of those policies and initiatives may not be in place. So if you think of a Sparky in Taupo with 17 people, you know, how do they develop diversity and inclusion within their day-to-day lives, so it affects us all? So it's something that we also want to get right.
So it is all about action, and to be a champion of change, you have to be action orientated. It's not just a tick the box. Look at me, I've got this great sort of title. It's about taking action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabulous. I mean, that very much aligns with Empower Women being all about action.
Yeah,
so tell me, what does diversity look like in the marketing industry?
Well, so our category, luckily, does have probably over-indexes versus other categories in terms of women in leadership, and we think that's great. So we're really proud as a category for that. So that's been really kind of important to us. But I think we can discuss the reasons of why. We can talk about being more observant, being more understanding of emotion. All those types of things is incredibly powerful. But for me, more so, I think that how we look at diversity and inclusion is certainly about. We all know it's right, and we all know that it's really important. But what it really does to us is, it does make incredible business sense. And why it does that is, for us to purely innovate, we need to be looking or speaking from all sides of the table. And I think that that's a really important part. So we talked about creating environments that all voices can be heard. And I think that, as a country, we're very good at that versus other countries. But I think that that's something that we within marketing as sometimes the voice of the audience. We want to make sure that that's all genders are heard, and then they're all working towards finding great solutions for our customers and clients.
Yes, I think often sort of diversity gets sidelined by it's a them or us, or it's a gender thing, but it is around that diversity of thought, which is essential for good governance of organisations. Governance
and ideation, so diversity of thought is where we look around corners and we can see understones, and we look at different things. So the more wider and stronger, more balanced representation, of course, that's really important. And I think that that becomes a day-to-day work as well. So certainly as a leader, it's not just about initiatives, and it's not just about policy. It's about value-based decisioning, thinking that way, and then operating and listening.
So what are the sort of things that you have to attract and retain women?
Yeah, so Saatchi is part of a global marketing transformation organisation called Publicis, and we're one of the lucky ones. There's 80,000 of us around the world, and so it does allow us to really get focused around key strategies, and so that's been kind of a really important part to us learning to here in New Zealand. I think that the two areas is, it's probably three areas for us. One is communities within our community. So Viva la Woman, we're French-owned, and Egalite are two programs and communities within our organisations. And I imagine many companies have got communities within communities that you're all part of. I think the areas that we chose to focus on were, in terms of our people and culture community globally, was two areas. One is certainly around young women leaders and getting it right there. So it's three probably. On-ramps, so making sure when they come into your company, women and minority cultures are certainly really considered as we come in, to make sure that they've got a warm and an open, safe environments to do their best work. And the second area is around that is around the parental kind of side, which is obviously where we touched on. So we've delved down, and I think many of them have great policies as well. So we're just saying that for us, the three probably are really, really focused points is sometimes quiet initiatives. So we have one called miscarriage and cup care. So it's just really focusing on miscarriage. So that's a really, really challenging time. So if you take that 3, 4 year, 10-year period of 2, 3 children, that can be a really challenging time for women, and it can be done very quietly. So that's a very hard period for them to work through, and then certainly it's going to be a time where they are very quiet. So it's about creating initiatives for there. So that's kind of a big one for us. We have put in some initiatives, and this has been probably new, but one around fertility. So if families are working through IVF, it can be challenging for 2, 3, 4 years. So we really encourage and make sure that we've got a program around that. So that's time out, because I've been involved in IVF. It's you can be in days where you have to move fast, or you're counting 27 days, and so it's how does work around those initiatives is something, and it's just another area that we think we can tackle in that key area to solve that problem. So it's just creating those warm environments to be able to get right. And then probably the last one is menopause, and this is it's probably more of certainly an initiative that Global Women and Champions of Change are working through, and we're helping with storytelling that right now. But menopause is one that is probably been a stigma for a long time. So how do we get that right, and making sure? So we've got initiatives around time out, or certainly kind of time out in our day-to-day work life as well, around that.
Fabulous initiatives. I think there's a lot of good stuff there that we could sort of bring into our industry, and it's quite refreshing to hear these topics talked about. They certainly haven't been talked about in my sort of younger days, that's for sure. We haven't talked about this pay gender gap. Do you have an issue in your
pay gender gap?
organisation?
Yeah, so pay gender gap. We could talk about this for a long time. So part of Champions is we all share our pay gender gaps. And that goes into Mind the Gap, and it's a way that we all can declare what it is. And for us, it's being really open to declare what it is, and then working hard to work through it. I can be really open. So, whilst publicists probably have 300-400 people, 350 people in New Zealand, Saatchi's is a smaller community in that, and there's 70 people in that. Now, the 3 principal leaders are men. So within our leadership team, no matter which way we look at it, within the total leadership team, it's a balanced leadership team. But it does throw our pay gap off. But that's okay. We work through that because we know that it's a balanced leadership team. How we operate, it just happens to be that way. So what we do is we take a lot of work on indexes, and we work through from the bottom up and actually work through every single role to get that right. So it's something that when you marry up the total industry view, or the total of New Zealand, and how do we tackle that as a workplace, or as a business sector and public sector, then I think that's one of the ones that it's just how you measure, how you work, and make sure that that's part of your day-to-day decisioning when you're hiring and recruiting as you go.
Yeah, I think often there can be a lot of stigma associated with gender pay gap reporting.
Yep.
However, I don't think that's the case. I mean, that would be your experience. I mean, I think it's about, it is what it is. It's more importantly about what you do about it. And as we know, what's reported gets sort of actioned, etc. So it's that's the important part, I think. Yeah, excellent. And what's your why? Why are you really, passionate about this area, putting yourself out there as a male ally?
Yeah.
What's your driver?
Yeah, so my why, probably a bit vulnerable here, but my why is, it does start with it starts with the children at the same time. So, my daughter is 10, and I'm already understanding of, the pressure on social media and how that works. So that's certainly a why I personally take as going, when Lola comes into work, how do we make sure she's got the safest and best environment to do her best work? What are the programs to make her feel comfortable? So I just keep bringing it back to kind of a personal part to that, and I think that's a good way just to remind us, because then we never forget, if you like, and it's easy to forget things as we go, isn't it? So the second part to it is, I'm from the South Island, grew up on a farm. I'm 47 and I'm white. And whilst I have worked all over in different parts of the country, of the world, certainly Asia, where you learn different cultures and how their cultural ecosystem operates. Coming back from Australia, which is did 4 or 5 years there. When I came back to New Zealand, in a place where I dearly love, and you look at, I guess it's a socially progressive country, New Zealand, and how awesome's that? But we all know there's a heap of work to do. And so when I came back, I was looking at it going, well, do I feel exposed? Am I right to do this? So I keep just going to ask myself, how do we best operate? So I kind of go, you set the vision in your company, you rally around great communities, if we talked about, and then you tackle the issues through policy, and then you use those policies in your day-to-day decision making. So I think that was kind of the ways that I personally kind of tackled it. And then probably just the last minute with 129, I think I'll go. Right?
We could be talking about this for quite some time.
Is we as a leadership team, we do talk about, and you probably hear this, but bring your whole self to work. And one of someone told me this, and I thought it was really interesting, is that women are incredible at...
Shall we finish on that note?
Yes, yeah. More concealing of emotions, right? Men can show their emotions, if you like. So the pressures that sometimes women are facing, we don't know, such as menopause, such as going through fertility treatments. So the area where I've worked through and learned through is really important to make sure the leadership teams bring together your whole self, and you're just really honest with it. So probably the last story is, I work with my COO, who I dearly trust to run the organisation. She does way better than me. She's excellent at helping to make sure those initiatives are set up in place and programs for that junior level, mid-level and senior level. But what she's been really great with is, we know we've got the initiatives in place, but she's been the best at sitting in a meeting and going, she's going through menopause, she's going, I'm too hot, I'm not having a good day, right? And it's the honesty, it's the confrontingness of that allows me to learn and allows all of us to learn, and that's where the stigma goes away. So we are bringing our all self to the table. And it just makes us a better leadership team there as a group of people. That's how we try to operate. But we're a long way to go, and that's the thing that we want to work through.
It's fabulous. I think that's a great note to end on. We're being flashed at here. But look, I think that there's so much gold in what you've shared with us today, Mark, so thank you very much. I think it's about really how we come together to move forward together in all this sort of space. It's not a them and us, it's not a gender issue, it's how we can do business better for the benefit of all. So we'll be sharing more about Empower Women's initiatives. If you weren't at the breakfast this morning, we announced the first collaboration between FSC and Infants, the first ever, around a leadership series that's going to be launched on the 7th of November. So if you're in this room and you're not an Empower Women member, please join. Even men can join. And we'll have some exciting stuff coming your way. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Please join me in welcoming Mark. Thank you.